Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
You got Luke.
Luke, today we're going to follow up on another listener recommendation. After hearing our talk about moving to Mars, he thought we should talk about Venus cloud cities.
Who recommended this?
I don't remember his name. He was on the
So
Facebooks.
the same person did both?
No. He said, Mars is a stupid idea.
Ooh.
We should be going to Venus.
And when you told me we were first going to do this, I was thinking, this guy's crazy.
Yeah,
Venus.
I agree.
First of all, I thought Venus was like clouds. I did not realize Venus had an
You didn't
actual...
know it was a planet?
I knew it was a planet, but I thought it was like one of those
Like
gaseous...
Jupiter?
I thought it was a gaseous planet.
I see.
I did not realize Venus actually had like a surface. We'll talk about it later.
That scares me a little.
Yeah. Well, what did I didn't know.
Yeah, that's the part that scares me.
Okay. Let's move on before I make myself look more dumb.
All right, so Venus cloud cities, or HAVOC. Did you see HAVOC?
I did see
High altitude Venus operational concept.
Bad name, NASA.
Well, it's a lot of words.
Like, let's say
They're not into marketing.
Let's say you're trying to get me to go on a colonization or exploration trip, and the name of it is called HAVOC.
Yeah, I
Why don't
agree.
they just call it like death?
Project You're Probably Gonna Die.
Yeah, it's just a bad.
So let me start out. I want to give a shout out to space.com, which is the first page that I landed on.
Yeah.
And they had this awesome 3-minute video that provided no insight into this at all.
I saw the same.
So
the guy was really good.
I appreciate them. Like it was just like all fancy renderings and stuff. It was like, well, thanks, you gave me nothing. So after I left space.com, I did manage to find the same information in 42 different places?
Yeah, what I found with his research is there's probably like, I don't know, 7 minutes of actual information about this topic, and everybody took the exact same 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And basically stole from each other and repurposed it.
And I think the issue really is that, so we walked everyone through how we're going to Mars.
Yep.
SpaceX has like a 2-step plan to get there.
Yep.
NASA has like a 30-year plan to get there. And it turns out they kind of have a plan for Venus as well. Sorta.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess let's get into that.
Yeah.
So why not Venus, right? So it's only a 5-month trip to get there instead of a 9-month
Yeah,
trip.
so it's a lot shorter.
Yeah, which, that's nice, right?
So that makes like, the big thing I read about the distance issue is it's far more economical. Are you okay with your microphone there?
Little technical issue.
Hold on, I'll hook you up. Let me get you hooked up.
Thanks, man.
Sorry for the loud noise. There we go.
All right.
The biggest thing with the distance that I heard was just financially, because a 9-month trip versus like a 4 or 5-month trip, that's like $1 billion difference for like one trip
That makes
deal.
sense.
So getting like food, water, people, supplies,
Oh
whatever
yeah, not
it is.
necessarily just the getting the people there.
Yeah,
It's
'cause
all the things
you
to
gotta
sustain
send
that.
stuff, yeah.
Right, that makes sense. Well, and it also opens up a bigger travel window. So it's only every 1.6 years that it's closest versus 2-ish years, like Mars, right? Venus is such a great choice, this is what I wrote, that they call it Earth's twin.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense.
But then they call it Earth's twin, but then whenever I read about the issues, it's like, it's not even remotely
No,
Earth's
it's
twin.
a similar size, a similar mass, a similar density. Gravity's kind of close. The composition is pretty close, so problem solved, right?
Okay, can I talk about the problems?
You can go ahead and talk about the problems.
So...
I mean, what you claim are problems.
Well, the first one is 950 degrees C on the surface, I believe?
No, F.
No, it was C.
Really? I don't think so.
It was. I double checked it. It's one of the hottest places in our solar system.
It's
on
the hottest
surface.
planet. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So it was C. It wasn't F. It was 950 degrees C.
Whoever's listening to us, you write in and correct us on that one, so that we can have that in our what we got wrong episode.
Either way, C or F, we're dead.
We're not. That's a good point.
We're dead. Okay. Second problem.
Fun fact though.
Shoot.
Hot enough to melt lead. I mean, I don't really know what that
Doesn't lead
means.
melt pretty
but that's
easily,
hot.
though?
I mean, it's not melting anywhere that I'm at.
In the movie The Patriot, Mel Gibson melted those little lead soldiers with like a little lighter.
Let me tell you.
To make bullets.
I don't base most of my knowledge on Mel Gibson.
Oh, I base all my knowledge off of Mel
you know,
Gibson movies.
More power to you.
So first of all, it's a flaming inferno of death.
It is.
Secondly, the barometric pressure on the surface is, hold on, 90 times.
You got that one right.
So basically, if you went down 1 kilometer in the ocean, submarines basically crush and die and kill everybody on board. That's what it would be like to stand on
Is that
the
accurate?
surface.
1 kilometer?
That's what it said.
Really?
And I found it on the internet, so it has to be true. The other,
I thought James Cameron went swimming down really far.
yeah, okay, but that's
But that
because
was like the
it was
specialized
specifically
one-man
built.
thing.
They knew what it was, so
Oh. But like a normal sub doesn't go that deep, you're saying?
no.
Okay.
And the normal sub isn't designed for those kinds of pressures because they never go.
We really need to do a sub episode. Have we done that?
No, we haven't. I don't
Okay,
think we
let's
have.
do that.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead.
So the other thing that's the problem is, not the problem, but to prove it, all of the landers we've sent there, they
all
implode
fail.
almost instantaneously. In the ones that have survived, like they knew that the pressure was heavy, right? Because they've sent like 2 that made it, but they only lasted like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, I saw that. Like the best one was like, it was there for like.
And
not
basically,
long.
it's like the computer's like, okay, I'm gonna take a picture, click, and crushes, and it's dead.
Yeah, it seems like maybe not ideal to live there. One other thing, they do have this toxic sulfuric atmosphere.
Yeah,
like,
this-
oh no,
the
I can't
sulfuric
breathe
rain
there.
That melts your face off when it touches you.
Apparently that's not great for us either. So we melt our faces, our bones get crushed, it's really hot. But other than that, this Venus thing seems like a perfect solution, correct?
Well, I think the reason why it's probably most perfect for colonization. So, get rid of we catch on fire, get rid of our faces melt off, and get rid of we get compressed onto the size of a pea. All those things aside, the problem with Mars is Mars has like 0.4 Earth's gravity, where Venus is 0.9. So it's almost identical to Earth's gravity. The problem is, if you live on Mars for like, I forget what it is, like 9 months, you lose like 30% of your bone density.
Oh yeah,
and
you
your
have to figure that out.
And your bones basically just crumble. That's why astronauts can't be in space too long, because they basically get osteoporosis when they're there too long.
What was the movie with Sylvester Stallone, I think, that he was a truck driver and he had like a Bowflex in his truck that he was like working out on because he had to sit there driving so long?
I'm fairly certain that was over the top. It was
it
his,
does sound over the
arm
top.
wrestling movie.
It sounds terrible. All right, so anyways, let's not live on Mars is what they tell me. Let's live above, not Mars, Venus. Let's live above Venus. How about that? Live above Venus. Now, before we get into living above Venus, let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
I love. Who do we got? My guess is HAVOC is sponsoring us, and that's NASA basically.
This is NASA, basically. And since HAVOC really isn't a thing, it's just kind of an idea, they don't have any
we don't
money.
even want them, really, since they're not a real project, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's what we're going with, yeah, they're
Okay.
beneath us. So let's just work on some shout-outs. We do
Okay.
have one sad shout-out
Oh, yeah.
today, but maybe we should be happy. We're celebrating his life of Mr. Stevie Hawks.
Yeah, good old Steve.
Yeah.
Did you watch the movie?
Passed away. If you're watching this today, right when we
Yes.
posted, he passed away today at 76.
Was it today? Because the crazy thing is, today is Pi Day.
It is Pi Day. Oh, I didn't
Is that
even
crazy
realize.
that Stephen Hawking passed away on one of the most popular numerical numbers,
Whoa.
I'm guessing, in the world, right?
You
Pi?
really just blew my mind.
Isn't that like Stephen Hawking
Yeah.
dies on Pi Day?
Yeah. So
314?
shout out to him on Pi Day, passing away. That's something. Probably most well known for appearing on The Big Bang Theory, Bazinga.
I think he's well known for all of his scientific endeavors, not
Really?
being on a TV show.
you sure?
I'm fairly certain that.
All right,
he's-
again, listeners, correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, but I think Big Bang Theory is what he's most well known
is the
for.
pinnacle of
Yes.
Stephen Hawking's life was being on.
Yes. All right,
feel
so
like that's a no.
anyways,
Okay.
Other than that, please subscribe to us on iTunes. We're just blowing up these days,
Blowing
which is
it up.
awesome.
Give
and
us some
write us some
reviews.
reviews.
Yeah.
That helps us blow up. We're going to retire soon, which is going to be great. So keep giving us reviews and email us with what we've done wrong. That's great. That always makes me feel
Yeah,
good.
I love being dogged on.
Yeah,
That's the best.
that's pretty much all we get.
Yeah.
Ideas for shows, just want to say hi. And if you want stickers, we haven't gotten a request for stickers in a while. If you want any awesome stickers, email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com and I will send them on their way.
I do have one other. It's not a shout out, but it's a question to one of our listeners, and I'm sure he's a longtime listener.
Okay.
We had this cat via Facebook. I'm not going to say his name, but he knows who he is. he requested our phone number.
Oh, yeah.
And you replied back 876-5309.
867-5309.
Which is obviously our phone number.
Right.
And when you ask someone for their phone number, you got to give a little detail, like, hey, I want to be on the show.
Right.
Don't just say what's your phone number, because it's a little stalkerish.
Very stalkerish.
But we will give it to you and speak with you directly if you give us a little bit of background as to why you want to talk to us.
The funny thing about giving him Jenny's number is that 867 actually is how my phone number starts. So that's interesting.
Jenny's phone number.
All right, let's move on to living above Venus.
Yeah,
How about that?
Okay, so first of all, living above Venus, I got to give my boy right here,
Lando?
right there, Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian, a shout out, because that is, like, when you told me what we were doing and I Googled it, the very first image that showed up was Billy D. Williams in his sweet cape. It was awesome.
Sweet. Okay.
It was awesome. So I was all in as soon as I saw Billy D.
There we go. All right. So anyways, the theory behind cloud cities actually comes from a science fiction author, Jeffrey Landis. So I hear that and I'm like, well, not feeling real confident about this.
Yeah.
Now, before we write this off as, some sci-fi fanatic guy writing a book, he also has worked for NASA for 26 years, so that's something. And he serves as a visiting professor for astronautics at MIT. So, I mean, maybe this dude knows a little bit about something.
He has a little bit of cred.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's now a civil service scientist in the photovoltaics and power technology branch of NASA Glenn.
That thing needs an acronym.
Which, yeah, right? HAVOC has one, but this thing doesn't. Like, what's that all about? Where he's worked for landing Spirit and Opportunity rovers on Mars. He also has 8 patents for devices, developed laser sail propulsion systems for interstellar travel.
What?
And collaborated on a project aimed at putting a submarine on Titan as part of NASA's Innovative Advanced Concepts program. So I read that and I was like, all right, you can write all the sci-fi you want.
So this guy's marginally successful compared to us, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Which is funny because I was just like, just because he's a sci-fi author doesn't mean he isn't smarter than you, which he is.
So
not you,
I feel
all of you
I
listening.
feel like this cat here should be one of, we should like do a thing on him.
He
That's
sounds
amazing.
interesting, doesn't he?
Really?
Like, I don't know anything about what I just read.
I don't either. I can't
I mean,
spell
that I
it.
had memorized, for those of you not watching. But, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
It's intense what he does. So anyways, he's also won the Hugo, which is the sci-fi equivalent of the Pulitzer, for his short story, The Sultan of the Clouds. So any of you like extra nerdy people who like to read, that might be a good pickup for you if you're into this kind of stuff. And so this is kind of where the Cloud City thing all comes from.
Okay.
And it kind of accurately depicts things where if you're 50 kilometers up there in the clouds, the temperatures are pretty nice, like 75 degrees C.
Still pretty hot.
I mean,
It's about 150 F, right?
It's like
Somewhere
hotter
in
than
there.
any recorded temperature on Earth, but pretty nice.
But if you wore like, the examples I saw was, if you basically wore like one of those fire retardant suits that like a firefighter wears, you'd probably be okay.
It's a good life, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right though, but they say that's probably not really a big problem. Like
Yeah.
50 degrees, not
Easy.
a big deal.
Yeah, easy.
If you go about 20 kilometers above that, super cold. So you got like a sweet spot that you need to land in to keep everything just right. So that's cool. And so I thought we were going to have like big cities like on platforms, because I'm still stuck in this we have to live on the ground kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a whole theory of colonization requiring like land to land on and like stick a flag. Like
in.
if you can't do that, it's like you're not really there kind of thing.
Yeah. But this isn't the case there. They're going to have basically giant airships. Like think the
Hindenburg.
Well, I was going to go with
minus the explosion and death.
That might be happening too. I don't know. I was thinking the Goodyear blimp, but that's fine as well.
Yeah, Goodyear blimp, Hindenburg, same thing.
So people are worried because we're up on the surface of the clouds, like we're above the surface in the clouds. What about radiation? Because radiation was a big problem for Mars.
But we got a thick layer of atmosphere.
We have all this atmosphere going on, hooks us up. It would basically be giving you the radiation exposure as if you lived in Canada, eh? So
Canada. Why did you choose Canada?
that's what it said, because it's different, like on Earth,
Oh,
where you go.
because
So if
we're-
you're further north, like in
Okay.
Canada, that would be the
Canada's
equivalent.
further away from the equator.
There
I
you
got
go.
you. I'm with you.
So that's kind of cool. So there's all sorts of things that are going to make this happen. There's a five-phase process for
Okay.
this. And I thought that's funny because to land on Mars, they need like this 30-year plan. This, they're like, we got it in 5 steps, piece of cake. So there's a robotic exploration phase, a crewed mission for 30 days. Not crewed. Like there's people
Like
on board.
human beings.
Yes. And that was in orbit. Another one for 30 days in the atmosphere. A 1-year mission. And then, boom, you're stuck there forever. Step 5.
Well, I don't know. I just like it because it can truly be colonized. Like the whole gravity thing is a problem with Mars. Going back to my original, you can't be on Mars permanently because of gravity. I mean, it's just you're unless you're taking like a ridiculous amount of like calcium supplements or something like that probably isn't good for you.
So you're saying that you think Venus is a more reasonable solution, in your expert opinion?
In my expert scientific opinion, other than so the big thing that they have an issue with, so they've solved, I feel like they've solved a lot of things, but probably one of the biggest things that they still have issues with is even in the atmosphere, there is tons of sulfuric gas and sulfuric rain, and like anything you build, and sulfuric acid, if you haven't ever messed with it before, isn't really good for you.
You don't get a face that looks like this if you haven't messed with it.
So the problem is the sulfuric acid just like eats everything, and they're relying on solar power, I think, in most cases to power things. So how do you build these airships with solar panels and protect them from sulfuric acid? And so, but those are easier challenges than your bones turning into crumbly, mushy parts in your body and dying if you stay there too long. I mean,
Okay. I think that's interesting because I feel like when we started talking about this, you were like, this is stupid and I'm going to hate Venus. And now you're like, well, it's better than Mars.
Well, I mean, first of all, like I said before, you got Lando. My guess is we're all going to wear capes.
You could wear
Right.
a cape here.
We could.
And you should.
But I feel like in a Venus cloud city, me wearing a cape is just like totally boss.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
It is boss. All right. So I want to get into a little more detail about the 5-step process.
Okay.
But before we do that, I think we should take a break for this week's Luke's terrible or great or kind of meh engineering.
Okay, so this is so I was just recently in the UK. Sorry to rub it in.
I was trying to come up with a word they say, like mate. Do they say mate?
I don't know.
Ladies.
No, they don't do that one.
that's
Well,
just
no,
Neil.
Neil does that one.
Shout out, Neil.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Go ahead.
in the U.S., so I have major in plumbing issues with my house. I'm always like fixing like a clogged sink or
Is that a
clogged
house thing or a
drain.
Pittsburgh thing?
I think it's a house thing in general. Like
Okay.
a lot of people I talk to, they have lots of plumbing issues, and it's just older houses, whatever's going on. So I'm in the UK, and almost every like structure that I was in that was a little bit older, they all had exposed plumbing. And I would imagine, instead of having the plumbing in the walls for like your water, and now granted, like toilets obviously went in the ground, but like all of like your water feed, like your hot and cold, all the plumbing was like exposed on the walls. And I don't know if this was just the age of the buildings I was in, but that to me seems so much easier. Like, have you ever had to like replace a valve, or you had a pinhole leak in something, and I literally have to cut a hole in my ceiling, shut the water off. You got to cut that section, where if it's on the wall, you just shut the water off, and I'm not cutting drywall, I'm not pulling the ceiling down. And I don't know if that's a newer thing in the UK, or they've always kind of done that, or maybe they're doing it the way we do it now, but I've patched so many ceilings in the last 25 years of home ownership and walls due to plumbing issues. It's just like I've lost count. I've probably done it 20, 30 times.
So can I try and summarize this? This has pretty much nothing to do with the UK and everything to do with your dislike of modern sanitation?
I don't know. There's just got to be an easier way.
So you don't like plumbing is what you're getting at.
I don't. And it's a pain. It's dirty. It's nasty.
Now, okay. I think I'm going to not get into any more detail on
Okay.
that one.
Yeah, I just feel like there's got to be an easier way for
Modern plumbing, nay, is what we're going with.
I don't know.
If any of you think that modern plumbing stinks as well, email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com.
That wasn't one of my great ones, but I've had some recent plumbing issues.
If you think that
have...
Luke needs to come up with better, terrible engineering, also email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com.
Yeah, send me some stuff. I've been struggling with it.
Plumbing is a mess if you have to work with it. It is. All right, so we're going to get
Sorry about
into our... At least I think it's funny.
Okay,
our 5-step process. So we're sending these robot ships up to colonize
Seems
the clouds.
relatively easy.
Seems easy. So the airships would be about half the size of the Goodyear blimp, which is about...
pretty small.
Yeah, 58 meters. They're solar powered because,
The
why
sun's
not?
there.
Yeah, and they're filled with helium, which...
Yeah, apparently the density of the air, they said you could actually use oxygen,
Yeah.
but like our atmosphere would actually, or the air on the Earth would actually float.
I didn't see that. That's neat. Huh. Interesting. Okay. The crewed version of the ship, the one with a crew, that is, would be about 130 meters long, which that's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's like bigger than a football field. So that's
really
that's
big.
a healthy size. I need these visual aids to
you
figure
do.
out how big things are. It would also have a gondola. How do we say it?
Gondola.
Underneath it. How do you pronounce it? Gondola?
Gondola.
Gondola?
I think it is, okay.
Why aren't you just laughing then? Okay, anyways, it's underneath it where everyone can hang out and do
like the
sciencey
Hindenburg.
stuff. Right, exactly. Just like that, or the Goodyear blimp.
Yeah.
Since we don't want to, this is the crazy part.
Okay.
Since we don't want to land the airship on the ground, we want to land it inside the clouds. Makes sense, right? So once it gets in there, the quote aeroshell gets shot off. Okay. And we're going to be entering at 7,200 meters per second. Over the next 7 minutes, it decelerates to 450 meters per second. So they have to time this pretty well because you only have that sweet spot of like 20 kilometers.
Because if you get too low, you're gonna,
Right. And at that point, once it's down to like 450, a parachute shoots out.
Yeah,
to help us slow down
the
further.
image. Yeah.
Okay, so all of that's with the shell on. The aeroshell then shoots off once this parachute's on, and the airship starts to unfurl and inflate. So that means that we're going to have more drag, and that's going to help slow the thing down as well. And once it gets to about 100 meters per second, the airship has gotten so big and is filled up with air so much that the parachute's no longer needed. So we clip that off, and off it goes, floating off to be space garbage. And at that point, you basically stop and you start floating in your cloudy atmosphere. And the cool thing is, you just cruise around the planet at 100 meters, or on the 100 meter per second wind. So you got some fierce wind going on.
But the thing is, if you're going with it, like if you don't fight the wind, you're good because you're just kind of going. You wouldn't even notice the turbulence.
Right.
You just kind of would go with the flow.
Right. But you'd also circle the planet in just 110 hours, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, they said, I forget what the year was. Like a year in Venus based off of that is like significant.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The fun fact: Venus barely rotates. So how the Earth rotates around. Venus doesn't even move practically.
Practically.
I mean, I don't know how much it actually rotates, but it says barely. The interwebs.
Now the thing that I read was for colonization, they would, just like in Total Recall, one of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
We got yelled at for Total Recall, by the way. We missed an epic scene that somebody had, and I'll put it as an anatomical anomaly on their body that my friend was angry we didn't talk about. But go ahead.
Oh, well, we like to keep this family.
That's what I told him. I was like, get your mind out of the gutter,
This
Jimbo.
is a
That's what I told him.
This is a family show. But they built domes in Total Recall for the people to live in, and I would assume that the idea with Venus was we would, just like, the Lando Calrissian's joint. I love talking about Lando. I'm sorry. You would basically have these giant platforms that would probably be either supported above or below with these, balloons or airships holding it in space. And then you would just build a giant dome, and you wouldn't need to wear a suit, and you could walk around and drink your lattes and just live in the clouds.
I think you are going to be part of NASA's crew.
I
Not the crew that goes there, the crew that develops this.
and dies
With your brain. They need your brain
with
power.
this.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's...
Now, the other thing, too, that I heard them talk about was, are we done with how we get there? Are you done with your
I'm
steps?
done with how we get there. I only want to talk about turning Mars into a livable planet.
You mean
for a little
Venus? You
bit.
keep saying Mars. I'm going to punch you.
Don't punch me. We don't condone violence here,
it's a
or cyberbullying.
It's a family show.
Yeah. Venus.
So terraforming.
Terraforming Venus.
I watched this guy in a really weird video
Venus.
where he was standing in the
Venus.
woods. Did you see this video?
No, there's a guy standing in the woods.
So this guy's doing like an educational...
Was it Mel Gibson?
No, it was not Mel Gibson, made by his brother. He's talking about how to terraform Venus, and he's like standing in the woods wearing like a Under Armour zip-up shirt, just like giving us facts about... It was just an odd place to do an informational video about terraforming Venus, like just standing
Like
in
he
some
randomly
park.
turned on his GoPro and
yeah, I
was
wanna
like,
terraform.
let's talk about
Yeah.
this.
Regardless, so...
He might have found some magic mushrooms in those woods.
the way he was talking and
Okay.
what it takes to terraform, it would take some magic mushrooms. So the very first thing you need to do to terraform Venus, guess what it is?
I mean, it depends on what theory, but go ahead.
You have to cool it off.
Oh,
Because
well,
it's-
yes, I guess you're correct.
Because
No
it's,
matter
it's
that is true.
ridiculously hot.
It
So
is.
so what he says that he's proposing, or I don't know if it's some theory, but basically you have to basically put a giant umbrella in front of Venus to shield it from the sun.
I saw that. It could be a solar-powered umbrella.
But you know,
or have solar panels.
It's a planet. You know how big that would have to be? I mean, this is like
Pretty big.
on a monstrous scale. And then what happens is Venus then gets super cold. All of the sulfuric acid and all the things in the atmosphere, the temperature drops.
Right,
They
you
all
freeze it
solidify
out.
and
Yeah.
freeze, and it freezes out. And then you have to introduce, water, because there's virtually no water on the whole planet other than
Yeah.
a little bit in the sulfuric rain. So you got to introduce water to terraform it. But the idea of building like basically a giant shade to cover a planet,
Seems kind of crazy, doesn't it?
like, how is that even an option? Like the minute you say that, I feel like it's like, like how do you make that?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know.
That seems like a big thing. I feel like it's not actually like an umbrella so much as like panels that you continually add on to.
And then the other one was you smash stuff into it.
We said this
Like
about
asteroids.
actually Mars this time as well. Remember one of the ideas was to
To
bring a
nuke it.
moon and smash it into it?
I thought Elon said you
Nukes
nuke
were,
it.
yeah, to melt the polar ice caps there.
But we don't have ice on Venus, so we can't melt it.
hot.
But like, how do you control like the trajectory of like moon? Like, you like strap rockets to the side of like.
Why not? It's like Armageddon, but different. So there are a few other ideas to
me hear 'em.
terraform Mars as well. Our old friend, close personal friend now,
Close
Carl
person.
Sagan. Remember we talked about him with
Carl.
Bill Nye? He
Yeah.
taught Bill Nye.
Yeah.
William Sanford Nye. Check out that episode. That was a good one. I like him. A lot of haters out there, man. When we posted that,
Really?
a lot of people saying that he's not a science guy, and I was like, he is a science guy, and they're
He's
like,
the
he's
science
not.
guy.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
Okay.
for his doctoral studies as a student, he proposed that we use genetically modified blue-green algae to slowly terraform the planet. So this algae has survived like submersed in liquid nitrogen before,
So it
which
can freeze.
is weird, and it's lived in hot springs that are well over like 80 C, which I know we need to be higher, but it proves that,
If we could get it to
Right.
higher temperatures.
Right, so they might do the trick.
Okay.
So they also love to eat CO2, and this creates oxygen, and this will then help reduce the temperature of the planet over time, and it would allow for photosynthesis of green plants. So kind of turning Venus into Earth, as it's our twin anyways. I mean, how hard could that be?
Minus all the death and hell,
Right,
fire.
right, other than that.
Yeah.
So the fun part about this is he eventually admitted that this plan had, kind of a fatal flaw due to our lack of knowledge about Venus. But, so it wouldn't work.
I
is
feel
what
like
he's
most
saying.
of these have fatal flaws.
Yeah, like freezing it out, like you said. There's that one. There was another one that we need to displace 10 quintillion tons of CO2 into outer space. Like somehow like suck it up and shoot it out of there, which seemed kind of amazing. And they said to do this in 100 years would involve removing 300,000 tons of gas per second. Now, to give you some perspective on that, because 300,000 tons means nothing to me
Yeah.
per second, the Amazon moves roughly 10,000 tons of water per second right now. So now we need something, 30 times stronger than the Amazon shooting gas out of this planet to make that happen.
Yeah.
Another option...
Oh, goodness. They get worse, I think.
They do get worse. Another option, and this is from a Nobel Prize-winning atmospheric chemist, Paul Crutzen.
Good old
Crutzen?
Paul.
Yeah, Paul. We're good with him as well.
Yeah.
Him and Bill Nye and Carl. Anyways, he wants to release a massive amount of sulfur dioxide, which didn't make sense to me because there's so much sulfur anyways, into the atmosphere. And he argued it would lower the surface temperature and slow the runaway greenhouse effects, like all the heat, and therefore it would actually create something that's similar to like a giant volcano explosion on Earth. And I think it's kind of like the old dinosaur theory, like giant
freezes, big
volcano, plume block
Gotcha.
all that stuff out.
Okay.
All of a sudden it's cold, and then it becomes a decent place.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of interesting as well. There was another one about finding. There's so many zeros in this number, I don't even know how much it is, but a bunch of hydrogen. And they propose that we get this from gaseous giants like your friends Jupiter and Saturn, which you thought Venus was, but it's not.
I thought, well...
So basically we'll steal the gas from there, pump it into Venus, and this would in exchange make it livable. And it would cover Venus in like 80% water, which is a good deal for us.
I guess. So here's my thing.
What is your thing?
There's like places on the Earth. Like when you think about the need for colonization, right? Like we're gonna run out of space, we're gonna run out of food, blah 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 blah, right? There's places on the Earth that we haven't been able to habitate. Habitate.
I like habitate.
I don't know if that's a word or not, but there's places on the Earth that we can't live
Colonize?
Because it's too cold, it's too hot, whatever it is. And we're talking about going to different planets. Why don't we try to figure out how to... See, my whole thing with colonization of other planets, why I think it's bunk, is we need to figure out what we can do here, right? And then once we get that, then if we run out of room and yada, 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 whatever it is, then I say we move. But there's so much space still. And if we all just started drinking Soylent...
Oh, God.
Shout out
to our boys at Soylent.
If we all just started drinking Soylent and reduced our dependency on land for growing food, I feel like we could use more of the open space for agriculture and use it for population and just drink Soylent.
I feel like this is like final thoughts with James and Luke. I see where you're going with that, but
What are
I
your
think
thoughts?
you're wrong.
So you honestly
My
think...
thoughts is that we need to start doing this now, like we are, because we are going to run out of room eventually. Probably not in our lifetime. We are going to mess up Earth pretty badly eventually if we haven't already. And we need another plan to keep on moving. Not to mention, we need to take these planets over before other aliens do, which is my main concern.
That is probably the biggest problem. Is, have you seen the Martian ones where they have the... I forget what the movie was. There's a movie
Space Jams.
Yeah, if Space Jams happens, we are hosed.
Because Michael Jordan's old now.
Yeah, there's no way he can play basketball like that anymore.
Not like that. And King James, I mean, he has a worse hairline than me. So.
I feel like, yeah, you're right. If
Aliens.
we cannot let Space Jam happen.
So there's that. I think on that note, we should probably call it a day. Hopefully you guys learned something about colonizing Venus and Lando, because he's going to be there with his cape. If you have any comments, we said anything wrong, like maybe temperatures, I don't know, email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. Hook up with some stickers and all that jazz. So I guess until next time.
See ya.